With Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor collecting a number of Game of the Year awards back in 2014, it's fair to say that I'm more than a little bit excited for this year's sequel, Middle-earth Shadow of War. An official 16-minute long gameplay walkthrough was just released over on their YouTube channel, so why don't we take a look at what this new game will bring to the table. In the first game we had two drastically different locations to explore. There was the muddy no man's land surrounding the Black Gate, as well as what could be described as lush grassland if it wasn't, taken over by an army of orcs. Those two areas offered a decent enough variety to keep people playing once they'd reached the halfway point and were actually able to access the new part of the map. But Shadow of War looks to take that to the next level. The trailer shows off the brand new world map, which looks to feature at least 5 different world spaces for the player to explore, each of them featuring their own war chiefs, overlords, missions and side quests. Just like last time, the environments will likely differ greatly from each other, with the camera panning all the way across from Minas Tirith and Osgiliath in the west, past Cirith Ungol and Gorgoroth, right the way over to Seregost in the northwest of Mordor. But who's to say that the map stops there? Maybe we'll get to see a reimagining of the Sea of Nirn like last time. The showcase doesn't specify whether the world map will be totally open world, although it does state at the start that Shadow of War is a third-person open world action role-playing game, which I think has to be set some sort of record for the longest genre title ever imagined. It'd be nice to see a fully open world realisation of Mordor, but I think it's more likely that each area will be its own world space like last time. Still, having more than 2 areas to explore this time will be rather refreshing. The gameplay showcase follows our protagonists as they take their newly formed army against a fortress under siege. The action that follows is similar to the sort of stuff you experienced in Shadow of Mordor, but on a much larger scale. You're no longer infiltrating a mere stronghold to gain control over a single war captain or war chief. You're now infiltrating a full-on fortress featuring multiple captains, war chiefs, and a single overlord with your army to assist you. This, like the Nemesis system as a whole, has taken a concept from the first game and blown it up to a much larger scale, which so far looks pretty promising. After brutally murdering your way through the hordes of enemy orcs, captains and war chiefs, you'll find yourself in an arena that holds host to an actual proper boss fight with the overlord of the fortress. And when I say proper, I mean one with a custom built arena with specific attack movesets to learn and counter, not just a simple quick time event like how the original game handled its final crescendo. Yeah, let's just gloss over that. Speaking of the arena, the narrator of the walkthrough talked at length about how the new Nemesis system creates a game that is unique for all players, and this affects the siege battles in a pretty big way. The final boss battle will take place in an arena, one that's decorated accordingly to the personality of the overlord that rules the fortress. From playing through the game naturally, the player will have a history with these overlords, and that will affect their personality and how the final arena is laid out. This adds yet another layer of depth to the Nemesis system, one where your in-game actions have gameplay changing consequences later down the line. What's more fun than racing around Mordor on the back of a rowdy Caragor? Why, flying around the skies of Mordor on the back of a rowdy Drake, of course. Yep, you'll not only be able to ride around on the backs of Caragors and Graugs this time around, but Drakes have also been added to the list of creatures that you can take control and ride around the world space. Just like other creatures, the Drake comes with its own attack moveset, meaning it can shoot fireballs and perform dive bomb attacks onto any enemy orc you desire. Pretty neat. Previously in Shadow of Mordor, you were stuck to looking like plain old Talion for the whole game, unless you completed certain challenges to unlock new skins, or you forked out the extra cash to purchase alternative cosmetic skins. Well, that's no longer the case. In Shadow of War, you'll be able to find new pieces of armour complete with their own stats like the classic RPGs of old. These armour pieces will not only boost your defense rating, allowing you to take more damage before dying, but will also change how Talion looks as he wanders the land of Mordor. This is a very much welcome feature, as whilst Talion does look pretty damn cool running around with that ragged cape draped over his back, it's nice to add a little bit of variety to his costume and to give us another incentive to keep brutally murdering orcs. Speaking of which, dismemberment is a funny old gag with the Lord of the Rings franchise, with characters being relieved of their limbs and even heads left, right and centre within the films. It was also heavily present within Shadow of Mordor, but watching the gameplay shown in this walkthrough for Shadow of War, I can't help but notice that the amount of graphic gore is still very much there and in plentiful reserves. If you're looking for a game to let off some steam by brutally stabbing and slicing, then Shadow of War might just be for you. This updated version of the Nemesis system makes each player's playthrough even more unique than it did in the previous title, and it reminds me of something that Ken Levine, the creative director for BioShock and BioShock Infinite, spoke about when describing how he wanted to build his next project. He talked about narrative Lego, a dynamic narrative that changes depending on how the player completes their in-game actions. Think of it like the Telltale game structure on steroids, where the story adapts to your choices, but the choices aren't laid out in front of you like a tree diagram. It all happens dynamically behind the scenes. In fact, when going back to research what I remember Levine talking about, it turns out that Levine did actually reference the original Shadow of Mordor when talking about this narrative Lego concept. There's something about playing a game like Shadow of Mordor, where dynamically developing up a relationship with an NPC for them to then assist you in combat and save your life at the last minute or deal the final blow to a beefy enemy, that just feels special. It feels real and organic. It brings the game to life. Whilst we didn't get to see the entire origin story of how some of these orcs came to be in Talion's army, I get the feeling that starting my own playthrough of Shadow of War will bring me that same genuine, organic feeling that I have a presence within this video game world. I'm not just on rails as I roll through the main quest line, my actions have a purpose. This is something that games like The Witcher 3 have tampered with in the past, but never quite gone to the same level of detail as what Shadow of War seems to be doing. Ultimately, the Nemesis system is what won Shadow of Mordor its Game of the Year title back in 2014, because it genuinely wasn't perfect. The game was a maximum of 40 hours long even when going for all of the collectibles, and again, there's the boss fight that shall not be spoken of. So if the Nemesis system was capable of winning the game multiple Game of the Year awards in 2014, will an updated version of the system be capable of winning the sequel to Game of the Year title 3 years on? I certainly hope so. What are your thoughts? Are you excited for Shadow of War? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button on your way out and consider subscribing for more content like this. You've been watching Major, and I'll catch you in my next one.